合唱。ナモアミダ仏。
ナモアミダ仏。
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 ナマンダ仏。ナマンダ仏。ナマンダ仏。ナマンダ仏。ナマンダ仏。Hello, and welcome to the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple's Sunday YouTube service for August 22nd, 2021. We are so glad that you can make it once again here to TSDBT. Service order for today will be Juseige. You can find Juseige on page 57 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a reading of the Three Treasures. Well, you can find the Three Treasures on page 106 in the Blue Denver Service Book. We'll then have a Dharma talk in English. Thank you so much for once again joining us here at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple. And if you don't have a copy of the Blue Denver Service Book, don't worry, because if you look down below in the description, you'll find a hyperlink to a Google Drive copy of the Blue Denver Service Book. And if you have any comments, concerns, or questions, please feel free to leave it in the comments section below. We look forward to seeing you every Sunday here at TSDBT, and please be safe out there. Gagon Chosegan Ishimu Jodo Shigan Fumanzok Seifu Joshogyak Gao Muryoko Fui Dai Seishu Fusai Shobingu Seifu Joshogak Gashi Jobundo Myosho Chojipo Kukyomi Shomon Seifu Joshogak Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubonyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Tennin Shi Jinriki Endai Ko Fusho Musai no Shoujo Sankumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihi Chiegen Meshi Konmoan Heisoku Shoakudo Tsudaten Shumon Kosojo Manzok Iyorojipo Nichigan Shujuki Tenkon Fugen Ishukai Hozo Koseku Dokuho Jodai Shuju Seppo Shishiku Ku
細部具足修徳本元年心上満徳意三害用女仏無下地津達未不詳願学へに投資最小尊志願や効果大戦の感動国書天に統治妙慶ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブがんにしくどく平等正祭道本菩大心往生安楽ナモアミダ仏
ナモアミダ仏。
ナモアミダ仏
ナモアミダ仏。
ナモアミダ仏
ナモアミダ仏。
ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏ナマンダ仏
Three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human form. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and become aware of his supreme teaching. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of his doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord, in the life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namo Amida Buddha. Namanda, namanda, namanda.
Please join me in Gassho for a reading from the Gobunsho, the Letters of Renyo. From the fourth fascicle, the ninth letter, the Shin Buddhist attitude towards death, on an epidemic. People have been falling sick and dying in large numbers in the recent epidemic. However, it is not that they are simply dying because of an epidemic. Death is the karmic termination for which our whole life is destined from the moment of birth. We should never be too frightened by this. When people die these days, however, everyone feels it must be the result of an epidemic. This is perfectly understandable. Because of this, Amida Tathagata has vowed he will save without fail all those sentient beings who entrust themselves single-heartedly to him. Even ignorant beings of the last age, such as ourselves, heavily burdened with bad karma, no matter how heavy their karmic transgressions may be. At such a time as this, we should trust in Amida Buddha all the more deeply. Realizing that we will be born in the land of utmost bliss, we should never entertain even the slightest speck or droplet of doubt towards Amida Buddha, but revere him steadfastly and single-heartedly. Once we've realized this, saying Namo Amida Buddha, whether sleeping or waking, becomes a joyful expression of our gratitude to Amida Buddha for saving us so easily in this way. This, in other words, is the Nembutsu of the grateful response to the Buddha for all he has done for us. Most humbly and respectfully, in June, Entoku 4, 1492. Gassho. Namo Amida Buddha. 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 So, I have avoided using this Gobunsho since the first time it was reminded to me in April of 2020. Reverend Koei Umezu, the assistant minister from the West LA Temple, sent me a text message in April of 2020. She said, "Hey, Caitlin, I can't believe it. Renyo wrote a Gobunsho, a letter about a pandemic. How interesting is that?" And so I was like, oh, it's really interesting. And so then I went and read it, and I was like, oh, this is scary. And so for the last 16, 17 months, 18 months, when thinking of Dharma talks, I decided I'm not going to read this Gobunsho because I didn't want to scare anybody. And because, in all honesty, I didn't want to be scared. I didn't want to think about the fact that other generations before us have faced the same challenges that we are facing today. So, the COVID pandemic. This week, Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple has made the decision to cancel our Obon service. We have changed how our Hotsubon service works, and we have began to question whether or not, as a temple, we can reopen anytime soon. Because of the surge in the COVID pandemic and the Delta variant of it, we are worried about getting each other sick once again. So as you can see, I'm wearing a mask for the first time in many months giving a Dharma talk, because I want to keep Imada Sensei and Frank Sensei, who are both in the room with me, safe. And these are the small actions I can do to help keep other people safe. And this week has been a week where I've been like, I think I'm very scared. And not just because of the coronavirus. California is on fire. Washington is on fire. The smoke has clouded the airs of Denver. The Taliban rolled through Afghanistan, where after 20 years of my friends fighting, killing, and dying, we are now gone. And the women of that country are in grave danger. People are unemployed, and when I walk around Denver, I see tents on the sidewalks. I see homeless people and I see sad people. I see people that are doing drugs and I see people that have no hope. And maybe for the last week or two, this is the first time where I have felt, maybe I have no hope. But then I look back and I thought about the text that Umezu Sensei sent me a year and a half ago. Hey, Caitlin, check out this Gobunsho. Check out Renyo's words to people who were also scared. This letter was sent when there was a serious epidemic, and it was given to someone named Juseige, Hokyobo, one of Renyo's close students. And it was given at the height of the epidemic, which was striking that portion of Japan. Renyo says in here, death is the karmic termination for which our whole life is destined from the first moment of birth. When I first attended Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple, and when I first started studying Shinshu Buddhism, instead of the other Buddhist traditions I had looked at, I remember thinking, this place is very strange. They talk about death a lot. So, coming from a Christian tradition, we don't talk about death very often. We're aware of the fact it happens. We venerated a person who was killed. And yet, we don't look and say, oh, I'm going to die. This is not a conscious thing for us. Although, for Shinshu Buddhists, and very well for all living beings, the moment that we are born is the moment that we start to die. It is the beginning of an arc of a line that has a start and an end on this plane, on this place in samsara. I am born, therefore I will die. And this is scary because it is the unknown. However, for Shinshu Buddhists, and what Renyo here is saying, and what I think I am remembering and taking to heart, is when people die these days, however, everyone feels it must be the result of an epidemic, and this is perfectly understandable. So I feel like it must be the result of COVID, it must be the result of hopelessness, it must be the result of bigotry, and of possibly people not seeing outside of their own control zone. And so I worry about people dying and I worry about myself dying. But because of this, because of the fact that we all start and we all end, Amida Tathagata vowed he will save us all. And so when we say someone dies, we don't say that they are gone forever. We say that they are born in Amida's Pure Land. That it is a transition for us from this life, from this karmic burden, from these causes and conditions, but instead to be born in the Pure Land of Amida Buddha, the place where we can hear the pure Dharma, where the birds sing it to us, and we sit underneath the sala tree ourselves, where we can become one with Amida Buddha and learn and help all those who are lost in samsara. And so it is this moment that we're standing in between the river of fire and the river of water. On one side we see despair, and on the other side we see despair. That we hear the calling voice from the other side of this shore. Don't worry, you are embraced by the vow. You are embraced by the vow. And it is easy for us to forget that because we have karmic burden. I am not an enlightened being. My guess is you are probably not an enlightened being. And if you are, I would very much like to learn from you because I am too foolish in my own nature to be one here today. I am a being, as Renyo places it, in the last age, in this age, the semblance Dharma age, the age in which I can't hear the true Dharma in a way that allows me to liberate myself, so thusly I look to Amida Buddha, the practice that's made perfectly for a time of today, Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. And knowing that I am embraced by the vow, knowing that no matter what happens going forward, this Nembutsu teaching embraces me. So no matter what may befall me, my birth in the Pure Land is completely settled. So, karmic conditions have always been hard. And if we look back here to 1492 and look back at ancestors who also faced disease, who also faced famine, who also faced war and hardship, who were on the winning and the losing side of contests. But in the end, they were all equally embraced by the Nembutsu. No matter where they were, rich or poor, smart or foolish, young, old, male, female, married, single, it does not matter. You are equally embraced by the vow that meets you where you are. So today, if you wake up and you look on the news and you're like, oh snap, this ain't great, that's okay, because you are embraced by the vow of Amida Buddha. So, don't worry. Everything will be okay. Please join me in Gassho. Letter of Renyo, the fourth fascicle, letter 9. The Shin Buddhist attitude towards death, on an epidemic. People have been falling sick and dying in large numbers in the recent epidemic. However, it is not that they are simply dying because of an epidemic. Death is the karmic termination for which our whole life is destined from the first moment of birth. We should never be too frightened by this. When people die these days, however, everyone feels it must be the result of an epidemic. This is perfectly understandable. Because of this, Amida Tathagata has vowed he will save without fail all those sentient beings who entrust themselves single-heartedly to him. Even ignorant beings of the last age, such as ourselves, heavily burdened with bad karma, no matter how heavy their karmic transgressions may be. At such a time as this, we should trust in Amida Buddha all the more deeply. Realizing that we will be born in the land of utmost bliss, we should never entertain the slightest speck or droplet of doubt towards Amida Buddha, but revere him steadfastly and single-heartedly. Once we have realized this, saying Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, whether sleeping or waking, becomes a joyful expression of our gratitude to Amida Buddha for saving us so easily in this way. In other words, it is the Nembutsu of grateful response to the Buddha for all he has done for us, most humbly and respectfully. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu.